rocked by what should have been an unbelievable tragedy, and yet has come to be almost expected. A high school in Florida was shot up. 17 people were dead. Thousands more have had their whole world stop turning. And I, on the other side of the country, was at lunch reading tweets from a girl, a freshman, who was locked in a closet. Priyanka and I are both listening mentors. We have some of our kids out here today. And when I walked into class the next day, I swear I stopped breathing because I realized that could have been you guys. That could have been them. On this day, 19 years ago, a high school in a small town called Walkout in Colorado was shot up. 13 lives were taken just like that by killers who committed suicide before they could face justice. Teenagers looking forward to going home and seeing their mom. Kids who were part of church groups. Kids who were part of swim teams. Kids who wondered whether they should have worn a pair of jeans or a skirt to school that day. Kids who forgot to eat breakfast because they overslept, because they were too busy doing their English essay all night, which they had 3 weeks to do. Kids who just started high school with anxieties and fears, but also excitement. Kids who were just about to leave, happy and excited about finally entering the real world, but also terrified because how could they live without their mom for the first time? These were kids, they were just like us. We like to think that we are invincible. We like to tell ourselves that Dublin is a safe community, that it would never happen here. The truth is, this wasn't supposed to happen at Stoneman Douglas. They have a gated campus, active shooter drills, and are part of an affluent suburban neighborhood with low crime rates. Cruz had been reported multiple times to the police and the FBI, was expelled for disciplinary reasons, and was being treated for an array of learning disabilities and mental disorders. At the end of the day, he was still able to legally purchase the AR-15 he would use at Stoneman Douglas on February 14th.
It can happen anywhere at any time.
When I was in 6th grade at Cupertino Middle School, weeks after the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary, a student in PE lied to their sub about seeing a man with a gun, and we went into lockdown. But of course, we wouldn't know until hours later that it had been a lie. At 11 years old, sitting in a tight huddle on the floor in the middle of the gym, clinging desperately onto each other, watching tears drop in silence, squeezing hands, feeling hearts racing, wanting to call our moms, flinching every time a foot hit the floor, and staring at those 4 looming, unbarricaded doors, the threat to our lives felt very real. Every creak, every fleeting shadow that we would watch pass under the door, every siren we heard wailing in the distance, let my mind wander to horrific thoughts and scenarios I'd have to squeeze my eyes shut to push away. It felt real, because it had been real for so many students across the nation. We didn't question its authenticity, because gun violence was no unnatural occurrence. Years later, now in 2018, sitting in anatomy and discussing play-by-play and scenario-by-scenario plans in the case of an active shooter, I felt those exact same feelings of anxiety and dread resurface in the classroom. How we deal with tragedy defines who we are. These are words I aim to live by because I see it so often reflected in the world around me. The Parkland kids more than proved it by instead of simply accepting the country's condolences, they revolted and band together to create an immovable force that will bowl over every and anyone who stands in the way of getting proper justice for their friends, teachers, and loved ones. These teenagers, kids our age, kids with college plans and prom dress pictures on their phones, did not have the choice to stand up and fight back against the system. They were forced into it by a gunman named Nicholas Cruz when he opened fire on them, leaving them with scars that could never really heal, putting them in a position where they either had to fight back or live with fear and guilt. They had no choice. We, however, do. This is the turning point for our generation. Do we stand by our family in Parkland, the middle schoolers in Sandy Hook, the adults from Columbine? Do we make our voices heard? And do we stick together to garner more attention, to create irreversible change? Or do we stand by and watch as our brothers and sisters, torn by tragedy and scarred by adversity, stand alone? They never had a choice. We do. We think it could never happen in Dublin. We claim it could never affect us, and we hide behind that convenient lie in order to find some semblance of comfort. But unfortunately, the truth, while bitter, is what rears its ugly head every time we hear of an affluent neighborhood being shot up. It could have been us. So why are we happen here. Our first thoughts when we heard that fire alarm go off should not have been Parkland. Our evacuation should not have felt like a risk we were taking or a potential threat to our lives. We should not have felt hesitant to leave the classroom for fear of what could have been waiting for us in the hall. I should not have been scanning for an escape route as I evacuated to the parking lot. I should not have been anticipating a gunshot. We should not flinch and freeze every time we hear a bang because we aren't sure what to think. We should not be scared to leave our classroom in case a code red is called and we are trapped outside. We should not feel unsafe sitting outside for a period. We should not have to detail plans A, B, and C for every classroom and every scenario. Classrooms across the nation should not have to be armed with buckets of rocks. Students should not have to wear clear backpacks. Our schools should not have to be turned into armed fortresses or prisons with guards, gates, and guns in the hands of our educators. Why are we so focused on preparing ourselves for something to happen instead of preventing it from ever happening? The idea that more guns will fix this problem appalls me. How can we even debate the validity of training teachers to use weapons and placing guns in classrooms? Since when did a teacher's job description and responsibility become to shoot a gun in the case of an active shooter? How can we not see how much room there is for damage to be done from having guns in classrooms? If you can think of even one teacher you have ever had who should not be trusted with a gun, that is reason enough to abandon the idea. I think one of the reasons that we as a society are too complacent is because actual adults and functioning members of society are too jaded, and teenagers and young adults are considered too young. Every civil rights movement has begun at a high school and collegiate level, from the African American civil rights movement to the LGBT. Students and youth have been at the forefront of it. So when people say we're too young, tell them that Carlota Waldmani, the youngest of Little Rock 9, was 14. That Malala Yousafzai was 17 when she won a Nobel Peace Prize. That Farah Abed, the 8-year-old Syrian refugee uncovering the horrors of the Syrian tragedy, is 8 years old. But also be sure to tell them that Noah Posner was 6 when he was shot in Sandy Hook Elementary. That Charlotte Bacon was 6 when she was shot in her classroom. That Emmett Todd from Columbine was 15. That Nicholas Bourret from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas was 17. These are real children who had to face consequences of actions that they had no responsibility of. So tell them, Emma Gonzalez is 19, and that Edna Chavez is 17, and that Naomi Waldler is 11, and they're out there fighting for their lives, for our lives, and for the lives of the future generation. On the line, and that it could be us, or brothers and sisters and loved ones, that could be the next statistic. Tell them that there's no such thing as too young. Because if you're not too young to get shot up, then you're not too young to stand up for what you believe in. The sad thing is that out of all the discussions I've heard, one stood out to me that shifts the blame to the students, that shifts the blame to the kids at Parkland, who literally just wanted to go to school and take that damn biology test. I've been hearing a lot about walkout and not walkout, and to that I'd like to respectfully disagree with the entire concept. If it was simply an issue of blatant bullying and exclusivity in high school, there would be more trans shooters, there would be more female shooters, there would be more LGBTQ+ shooters, but the overwhelming consensus points towards shooters coming from one particular race and gender. Be kind, be good to each other, but never feel as though you have to take responsibility for your classmates' mental health. This concept also oversimplifies the complexities of mental health issues and ignores the variety of other factors that lead to school shootings. Nicholas Cruz had the support system we keep discussing. He had seen psychiatrists, received medical and investigative attention, was taken in by his friend's family, and gotten mental health treatment. In addition, the idea that these two concepts of walking up and walking out are mutually exclusive is flawed and is used to derail the conversations that are finally starting about America's youth exercising their rights. It's hard. We're working on it. I'm not entirely sure why we have to keep repeating this sad fact, but the issue within itself is not a political one. It's about the fact that we keep dying. We keep getting murdered in our classrooms, shot weeks before graduating and starting our lives. It's about the fact that 6-year-olds, 6-year-olds, have to learn intruder drills because history has shown that my mind wanders in math, it's to whether or not I'm thinking about whether I would shield my classmate with my body. It's about the basic humanity of it all, and despite what anyone says, what bills have been passed, nothing has been truly done to remedy that. The politics of it ultimately don't matter, because whether you're a conservative or a liberal, you have the same chance of getting shot up in calculus class. So step up, lose all of your prejudices, and work together to create positive change, because the clock is ticking, and there's a price being paid for every minute that passes.
Our adults like to tell us that we are the future. Then why do they seemingly have no interest in protecting it, in protecting us? Why are they so quick to dismiss our voices as impractical and talk over us? We are the future, and by walking out today, we honor the lives of those whose futures were snatched from them before they had the chance to be realized. Lives that became numbers and statistics to be thrown around in debates and news reports. Every number in every body count had a history, lessons, favorite memories, struggles, challenges they overcame, a family, loved ones that mourned their loss, best friends that struggled to comprehend the sudden hole in their lives, teachers, mentors they looked up to, places they wanted to visit, and change they wanted to inspire until it was all snatched from them with a bullet. Their stories reduced to names and faces that would flash by on a screen and disappear with the scroll of a mouse. Countless other stories have gone untold and forgotten because of America's numbness and desensitization to gun violence. After every shooting that gains a national spotlight and reinvigorates the gun violence discussion, we hear that it is too soon to be making it a gun control issue. No, every time a life is lost as a result of gun violence, we are too late. We as a country cannot keep waiting for mass shootings and dying children to spark dialogue and reform. Our lives are not dispensable. They keep waiting for us to forget, for the discussion to die down and the next controversial issue to edge out public interest. But we are sick and tired of our lives being toyed with and discussed without our voices being taken into consideration. Now, students across the nation are taking a stand together to say we will no longer tolerate senseless violence and complacency. We refuse to forgive and forget. So I want you to join me in this endeavor to pay our respects to the victims of Columbine, to the victims of MSD, to the victims of Sandy Hook and Virginia Tech, to Cortland Arlington, to Stephon Clark, and hundreds of thousands of more who we refuse to let just lie as statistics. We honor them by carrying the fight, by pushing until we get safe schools and communities that we deserve to have, and we remember them by acting and doing rather than praying and wishing. Today, we remember those kids who had endless possibilities ahead of them, and we attempt to create a world where we no longer have to fear of whether or not we even have the possibility of a future. Today, 19 years ago, 13 young lives were taken at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado, and we remember the victims. Rachel Scott, Daniel Robo, Dave Sanders, Kyle Velasquez, Stephen Corneau, Cassie Burnell, Isaiah Scholes, Matthew Ketcher, Lauren Townsend, John Tomlin, Kelly Fleming, Daniel Mauser, Tori DePuter. Thank you. Woo!